Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News and Indian Perspective on All India Radio. This is R.S. Raghu and with me is Renuka bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment and more. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi calls for global cooperation to fight emerging threats at the 90th Interpol General Assembly in New Delhi. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar asserts that peace and tranquility in border areas are prerequisite for normal relations with China. Global dependence on fossil fuels is unhealthy not only for environment but also for economy, says India's Power Minister R.K. Singh. India-Africa Defence Dialogue held on sidelines of Defence Expo in Gujarat. Sri Lankan author Shehan Karunatilaka wins 2022 Booker Prize for his second novel, The Seven Moons of Mali Almeida. And BCCI appoints Roger Binney as new chief, announces holding of inaugural Women's IPL next year. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has called for global cooperation to deal with terrorism, corruption, drug trafficking, poaching and organized crime. He said when threats are global, the response cannot be local as the pace of change of these dangers is faster than earlier. He was speaking at the 90th Interpol General Assembly in New Delhi today.
At a time when nations and society are becoming inward-looking, India calls for more, not less, international cooperation. Global cooperation for local welfare is our call.
The Prime Minister emphasized that there is a need for the global community to work even faster to eliminate safe havens of criminal activities. He said there can be no safe havens for the corrupt, terrorists, drug cartels, poaching gangs or organized crime. On the threats of transnational terrorism, the Prime Minister said India has been combating it for several decades even before the world recognized it. He said terrorism is no longer fought only in the physical space but is spreading rapidly through online radicalization and cyber threats. He reiterated the need to further develop international strategies to tackle this menace.
At the click of a button, an attack can be executed or systems can be brought to their knees. Each nation is working on strategies against them. But what we do within our borders in our longer enough, there is need to further develop international strategies. Establishment of early detection and warning systems, protecting transportation services, security for communication infrastructure, security for critical infrastructure, technical and technological assistance, intelligence actions, many of the things need to be taken to a new level.
On the dangers of corruption and financial crimes, the Prime Minister said these crimes have harmed the welfare of the citizens of many countries. He said the corrupt take money from the poorest and then push them into illegal activities.
There are diverse legal and procedural framework to deal with them. However, there is a need for the global community to work even faster to eliminate safe havens. There can be no safe havens for the corrupt terrorists, drug cartels, poaching gangs or organized crime. Such crimes against people in one place are crimes against everyone, crimes against humanity.
Highlighting the role of Interpol in tackling global threats, the Prime Minister expressed hope that the 90th Interpol General Assembly will prove to be an effective and successful platform for tackling crime, corruption and terrorism. The Prime Minister released a commemorative postal stamp and a 100 rupees coin to mark the 90th Interpol General Assembly. Union Home Minister Amit Shah, Interpol President Ahmed Nasir Al-Rais, Interpol Secretary General Jürgen Stock, CBI Director Subodh Kumar Jaiswal and other dignitaries were present on the occasion. Prime Minister Narendra Modi said National Maritime Heritage Complex at Lothal is the government's resolve to celebrate India's rich maritime history. PM was speaking after reviewing the site work progress of the National Maritime Heritage Complex at Lothal in Gujarat through video conferencing today. Mr. Modi said India has had a rich and diverse maritime heritage for thousands of years, which is less talked about. He said it is time to change our mindset towards heritage sites, and it's our duty to preserve our heritage for future generations. The Prime Minister talked about the Chola Empire, Chera dynasty and Pandya dynasty from South India, who understood the power of marine resources and took it to unprecedented heights. The Prime Minister further added that it led to the strengthening of the naval powers of the country while also expanding trade from India to all parts of the globe. The Prime Minister also spoke of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, who formed a strong navy and challenged foreign invaders.
External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar has asserted that peace and tranquility in the border areas clearly remains the basis for normal relations with China. The minister was delivering the keynote address at a conference in New Delhi. Dr. Jaishankar added that the continuation of the current impasse will not benefit either country. He added that new normals of posturing will inevitably lead to new normals of responses. Dr. Jaishankar said two countries must display willingness to adopt a long-term view. He said the last few years have been a period of serious challenge both for relationship and for the prospects of the continent. The minister said that India's research for a more balanced and stable relationship with China takes it across multiple domains and many options. Given the developments of 2020 in Galwan, Mr. Jaishankar said that the focus is on an effective defense of the border. The India-Africa Defence Dialogue IADD was held on the sidelines of Def Expo 2022 in Gandhinagar, Gujarat. 20 defence ministers, 7 CDS and service chiefs, and 8 permanent secretaries representing 50 African countries participated in the dialogue. Delivering the keynote address, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh highlighted the underlying commitment of India and African countries to explore new areas of convergence for defence engagements. Mr. Singh termed India and African countries as important stakeholders in ensuring a safe and secure maritime environment, especially in the Indian Ocean region. Stating that India has emerged as a leading defence exporter in recent years, the Defence Minister invited African countries to explore Indian defence equipment and technologies. He told his African counterparts that Indian defence industry can work with them to fulfill their defence requirements. Mr. Rajnath Singh also called for democratization of global world order. He said that world's multilateral forums should be reflective of the change in global realities. A more representative UN Security Council will provide it with greater legitimacy. Later, the Gandhinagar Declaration was adopted as an outcome document of IADD 2022. It proposes to enhance cooperation in the field of training in all areas of mutual interest. This would be done by increasing training slots, deputation of training teams, capability building of the Defence Forces of Africa, participation in exercises and humanitarian assistance during natural disasters. India offered fellowship for experts from African countries through Manohar Parrikar Institute for Defence Studies and Analysis.
Power, Renewable Energy Minister R.K. Singh has said that the global dependence on fossil fuels is unhealthy, not only for environment but also for economy. Mr. Singh said this while inaugurating the 5th Assembly of International Solar Alliance in New Delhi today. He added that most experts have agreed that power generation through solar photovoltaic systems is the most cost-effective and fastest solution. He added that more than 650 million citizens in the world do not have access of power supply.
Our objective is that we have to bring electricity, we have to give access to energy to almost about 700 million people in this world who are without access to energy. And we want to give access to energy to these people through renewable sources, through green sources. So it has to be an expansion of access, that is the priority, and that expansion of access has to be through clean and green sources.
Mr. Singh said the International Solar Alliance has come a long way since its formation and moving forward at a rapid pace. The minister said member countries of ISA have come together to fight the challenges of global climate challenge. He said solar technology has enabled to set up mini grids in remote areas. In today's Hotspot section, we bring you a special program on the 5th Assembly of International Solar Alliance.
The fifth assembly of the International Solar Alliance, ISA, is underway in New Delhi from the 17th to the 20th of October. India holds the office of the President of the ISA Assembly. Ministers, missions and delegates from 110 member and signatory countries are participating in this meeting. The International Solar Alliance, ISA, was conceived as a joint effort by India and France to mobilize efforts against climate change through deployment of solar energy solutions. It was conceptualized on the sidelines of the 21st Conference of Parties, COP21, to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, UNFCCC, held in Paris in 2015. With the amendment of its framework agreement in 2020, all member states of the United Nations are now eligible to join the ISA. With the signing and ratification of the ISA framework agreement by 15 countries on 6th of December 2017, ISA became the first international intergovernmental organization to be headquartered in India. The leaders of the founding states gathered in New Delhi on the 11th of March 2018 for the founding conference co-chaired by Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Emmanuel Macron, the President of France.
दिल्ली में इंटरनेशनल सोलर अलायंस के स्थापना सम्मेलन में आप सबका हार्दिक स्वागत करता हूं। आज के ऐतिहासिक दिन का बीज नवंबर 2015 में पेरिस में 21वीं कॉन्फ्रेंस ऑन पार्टीज के समय बोया गया था। आज उस बीज से हरे भरे अंकुर निकल आए हैं। इस नन्हे पौधों की नई संभावनाओं में फ्रांस ने बहुमूल्य भूमिका निभाई है। इंटरनेशनल सोलर अलायंस का यह नन्हा पौधा आप सभी के सम्मिलित प्रयास और प्रतिबद्धता के बिना रोपा नहीं जा सकता था और इसलिए मैं फ्रांस का और आप सबका बहुत बहुत आभारी हूं। 121 संभावित देशों में से 61 अलायंस को ज्वाइन कर चुके हैं। 32 ने फ्रेमवर्क एग्रीमेंट को रेटिफाई भी कर दिया है, लेकिन इस गठबंधन में हम सभी सहयोगी देशों के अलावा हमारे सबसे बड़े साथी हैं सूर्य देवता, जो बाहर के वातावरण को प्रकाश और हमारे संकल्प को शक्ति दे रहे हैं। आज जब हम क्लाइमेट चेंज जैसे चुनौती से निपटने का रास्ता ढूंढ रहे हैं, तो हमें प्राचीन दर्शन के संतुलन और समग्र दृष्टिकोण की ओर देखना ही होगा। फ्रेंड्स, हमारा हरित भविष्य इस बात पर निर्भर करता है कि हम साथ मिलकर क्या कर सकते हैं। मुझे महात्मा गांधी के शब्द याद आते हैं, द डिफरेंस बिटवीन व्हाट वी डू एंड व्हाट वी आर कैपेबल ऑफ डूइंग वुड सफाइस टू सॉल्व मोस्ट ऑफ द वर्ल्ड्स प्रॉब्लम्स। पूरे विश्व से नेताओं की आज यहां उपस्थिति इस बात की अभिव्यक्ति है कि सोलर एनर्जी मानव जाति की ऊर्जा जरूरतों को स्थायी रूप से पूरा करने का एक प्रभावी तथा किफायती समाधान उपलब्ध कराती है।
The ISA plays a fourfold role in establishing a global solar market. It is an accelerator, an enabler, an incubator, and a facilitator. ISA helps to aggregate and harmonize demand, risk, and resources across member countries, thus creating a large buyer's market with the objective of lowering cost for members and catalyzing innovation and investments. It addresses barriers and solutions to unlock and foster deployment of solar energy in ISA resource-rich countries. The International Solar Alliance assists member countries in finding suitable bilateral or multilateral funding. It facilitates commissioning of studies to define and structure common risk mitigation mechanism (CRMM) for solar power generation projects in solar-rich countries. It also promotes stakeholder consultations, workshops and forums for member countries to foster enabling environments for solar energy projects. The ISA's vision is to enable one world, one sun and one grid by facilitating energy access in every corner of the world by delivering cleaner electricity to all by 2030. Its mission is to unlock $1 trillion of investment by 2030 by reducing the cost of technology and its financing and increasing the skills of people working in the heavy industry. The Assembly is the apex decision-making body of ISA, in which each member country is represented. This body makes decisions concerning the implementation of the ISA's framework agreement and coordinated actions to be taken to achieve its objective. The Assembly meets annually at the ministerial level at the ISA's seat. It assesses the aggregate effect of the programs and other activities in terms of deployment of solar energy, performance, reliability, cost and scale of finance. The Fifth Assembly of the ISA will deliberate on key initiatives of ISA on three critical issues of energy access, energy security and energy transition. World leaders from ISA member countries will also discuss the strategic plan of the ISA in programmatic support for least developed countries or LDCs and small island developing states SIDS member countries, capacity building support to all developing member countries and analytics and advocacy support to all member countries. The Fifth Assembly is expected to lead to a greater consensus among countries for promotion of solar power. Increased international cooperation will be the backbone of energy transition, propelling investment and creating millions of new green jobs in this crucial decade of climate action. The ISA Secretariat has planned a series of technical sessions on various strategic initiatives of the ISA on the 19th of October 2022 and technical sessions on various emergent issues in the solar and clean energy sector in collaboration with partner organizations. Following the Fifth General Assembly, 3 analytical reports will also be launched on world solar technology, world solar market, and world solar investment. ISA is partnering with multilateral development banks, MDBs, development financial institutions, DFIs, private and public sector organizations, civil society, and other international institutions to deploy cost-effective and transformational solutions through solar energy, especially in the least developed countries or LDCs and the small island developing states SIDS. This is Saira Mujtaba for World News.
French Minister of State for Development, Francophonie and International Partnerships, Chrysoula Zacharopoulou, who is on India visit, today called on Union Minister Dr. Jitendra Singh in New Delhi to discuss Indo-French collaboration in nuclear energy. Ms. Zacharopoulou was accompanied by a high-level French delegation. The two sides discussed ways to speed up the setting up of the nuclear power reactors at Jatapur site in Ratnagiri district of Maharashtra by joint collaboration. During the meet, Dr. Singh assured the French minister that technical, financial and civil nuclear liability issues will be resolved by both the sides well before the scheduled visit of the French President Emmanuel Macron in early next year, as announced by Ms. Zacharopoulou. Russia on Tuesday confirmed new strikes on power facilities in Ukraine after Kyiv said the energy situation was critical across the country following renewed attacks. The Russian Defense Ministry in its daily update said the Russian armed forces have continued to strike Ukrainian military commands and energy systems with long-range air and sea-based high-precision weapons.
In Russia, at least 13 people were dead when a fighter aircraft crashed on Monday into a residential area in the port city of Yeysk after suffering engine failure. Russia's defense ministry said that a Su-34 fighter bomber crashed and set off a fire spanning 2,000 square meters. Local media reported that 68 people were rescued from the blaze in the 9-story building. 19 injured are being treated in the hospital. Yeysk is located on the Azov Sea coast near Russia's border with Ukraine. Regional train traffic in France was cut by about half on Tuesday as several unions called a nationwide strike, seeking to capitalize on anger with decades-high inflation to expand a weeks-long industrial action at oil refineries to other sectors. There were also some disruption to schools as the strike primarily affected the public sector. The trade union leaders were hoping workers would be energized by the government's decision to force some of them to go back to work at petrol depots to try and get fuel flowing again, a decision some say put in jeopardy the right to strike. This is All India Radio giving you the world news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
Sri Lankan author Shehan Karunatilaka won the 2022 Booker Prize for his second novel, The Seven Moons of Mali Almeida. Booker Prize is one of the most prestigious literary awards in the world. 47-year-old Karunatilaka becomes the second Sri Lankan to win the prestigious £50,000 literary prize at a ceremony in London on Monday night after Michael Untataje, who won for The English Patient in 1992. The Seven Moons of Bali Almeida tells the story of a photographer of its title who in 1990 wakes up dead in what seems like a celestial visa office. With no idea who killed him, Mali has 7 moons to contact the people he loves most and leads them to a hidden cache of photos of civil war atrocities that will rock Sri Lanka. The Booker Prize is awarded annually to books published in English in the United Kingdom and Ireland.
Japan government has ordered a probe into the religious corporation previously known as Unification Church after assassination of former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. Prime Minister Kishida Fumio has said that a government hotline set up to receive complaints and inquiries related to the church has resulted in more than 1,700 cases that have been handled by police and legal experts. Mr. Kishida said many victims face financial difficulty and their families were destroyed, but the government has not been able to provide adequate support and he takes it seriously. He also pledged to do more to support the alleged victims, including a possible revision to the consumer contract law to prevent future problems. A government panel submitted a report earlier yesterday that found many financial problems and lawsuits stemming from the church's methods. The Indonesian football stadium where more than 130 people were killed in a stampede earlier this month will be rebuilt. After meeting with the FIFA chief Gianni Infantino, country's President Joko Widodo told reporters on Tuesday that Kanjuruhan Stadium in Malang will be rebuilt according to the FIFA standards with proper facilities that it can ensure the safety of both players and supporters.
Indian Embassy in Seoul, South Korea organized its much sought-after annual flagship cultural program Sarang, the Festival of India and Republic of Korea, which enthralled the South Korean art and music lovers with a fusion of Indian and Korean dance and music in a grand spectacle running over 2 weeks. After a 2-year COVID hiatus, South Korean audiences enjoyed captivating performances by Indian and Korean musicians, dancers and artists at the 8th edition of the festival, which was held from 30th of September to 14th of October 2022 at various locations across the country. Through this festival, the rich cultural diversity of India is showcased through various art forms, including dance, drama, music, films and cuisine to the people of Korea to promote understanding and friendship among the peoples of the two countries.
In addition, the cultural ensemble in Seoul, October 4, also featured a medley of Indo-Korean fusion music by Aram Lee on daegyum, flute and percussionist Min Wang Wang on yangu, traditional Korean drum, performing with the Hindustani classical music group led by vocalist Sunanda Sharma and her accompanying artists. A fusion of Indian classical dances, Odissi and Kathak was also presented by Korean dancer Miss Bhima Kiyum, who was trained under the great Odissi master Guru Gangadhar Pradhan, and Indian Kathak dancer Miss Sonali Roy, a disciple of legendary Padma Vibhushan Pandit Birju Maharaj. Besides the cultural performances, a special photo exhibition on India's humanitarian assistance during the Korean War, which included the deployment of an army medical unit and the custodian force of India, was also organized at the Nami Island, recognizing the special contributions of India towards restoration of peace in the Korean Peninsula.
Youth from 70 countries will participate in a Global Youth Climate Summit to be inaugurated on Thursday in Khulna, Bangladesh. The 3-day summit between October 20 to 22 will bring together 650 youth in a hybrid format, with 150 youth participating in person and 500 online. The youth will explore how they can lead the fight against climate change. Elaborating the purpose of the summit, Ijaz Ahmed, the CEO of the Global Youth Leadership Center, GYLC, which is organizing the program, said that the GYLC is being launched as a global organization to mobilize youth, especially from the global south, to tackle the climate crisis. The mission of GYLC is to expand youth's knowledge about climate science, equip them with leadership skills to take individual and collective action, and enable them to launch businesses that contribute to climate mitigation or adaptation. Ijaz Ahmed said that Khulna has been chosen as the inaugural venue of the GYLC as it is one of Bangladesh's most climate vulnerable regions. The youth taking part in summit will undertake mangrove plantation in the coastal belt to promote locally led climate adaptation and highlighting the importance of mangroves, which are critical for human beings as well as for biodiversity. He said that to empower youth to take climate action, 10 delegates at the summit will receive a grant of $1,000 each to implement their climate mitigation or adaptation project.
Former Indian cricketer Roger Binney has been appointed as the new president of the Board of Control for Cricket in India, BCCI. The 67-year-old was elected unopposed during BCCI's annual general meeting AGM, which was held on Tuesday, 18th October at the Taj Hotel in Mumbai. BCCI Secretary Jay Shah, departing President Saurav Ganguly, Treasurer Arun Dhumal and Vice President Rajiv Shukla were all present at the 91st Annual General Meeting of the Board. With his appointment, Binney becomes the first ever former World Cup winning to become BCCI's President. Jay Shah has been re-inducted as the Secretary of the Board. Besides confirming the new appointments, the BCCI also approved to conduct the inaugural edition of Women's IPL in 2023.
The Sensex and the Nifty today climbed around 1% amid positive cues from global share markets. The Sensex closed above 58,900 level, while the Nifty settled above the 17,450 points. A report from the business desk.
The Sensex rose 550 points or 0.94% to finish at 58,961. The Nifty also surged 175 points or 1.01% to end at 17,487. At the global stock markets, Asian stocks witnessed gains except China's Shanghai Composite Index, which closed marginally lower by 0.1%. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index surged 1.8%. Japan's Nikkei 225 and South Korea's Kospi both gained 1.4%. Singapore's Straits Times ended 0.3% up. Europe's share were also up in intraday trade. Oil prices fell around 0.5% in intraday trade. Brent crude was trading at $91.50 per barrel. This is Lalema Aneja Dang for World News All India Radio.
The mystic saint and bard of Bangladesh, Lalosha, was remembered by devotees across the country on his 132nd death anniversary yesterday. Thousands of devotees congregated at his tomb in Kushtia to pay their respect to the great saint who spread the message of humanity through his songs and philosophy. The Jatiya Samajtantrik Dal JSD also organized programs in Dhaka with cultural shows, processions and discussions to pay respect to Fakir Lalosha on his 132nd death anniversary. Fakir Lalosha is considered the most prominent figure of the Baul tradition of Bangladesh and India. Born in 1774 at Horijpur in Jhenaida district of modern Bangladesh, he is revered as a great mystic saint, philosopher and social reformer of his time.
Now let us take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. The Washington Post observes that Russia targets power facilities. Ukrainians want to fight until victory. The Financial Times writes France's central bank boss says UK crisis shows risk of vicious loop. The Guardian writes unity, the only way forward, says Chad PM as anti-junta anger rises. The Wall Street Journal reports that war drives a rift between two Ukrainian brothers. Asahi Shimbun says Russian city to attend anti-nuke conference in Hiroshima online.
A quick look at the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi calls for global cooperation to fight emerging threats at the 90th Interpol General Assembly in New Delhi. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar asserts that peace and tranquility in border areas are prerequisite for normal relations with China. Global dependence on fossil fuels is unhealthy not only for environment but also for economy, says India's Power Minister R.K. Singh. India-Africa Defence Dialogue held on sidelines of Defence Expo in Gujarat. Sri Lankan author Shehan Karunatilaka wins 2022 Booker Prize for his second novel, The Seven Moons of Mali Almeida. And BCCI appoints Roger Binney as new chief, announces holding of inaugural Women's IPL next year. And now before we end, let us listen to Mahatma Gandhi's favorite bhajan Vaishnav Jan by artists from Angola.
Mana
with that, we end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.